It's in September 1997 and in April 1999.
Why do I have to remember two dates?
I'm just letting you know. I'm giving you context that you can later on go, was that in the 90s?
Okay.
And it was. At an NHS, so National Health Service Hospital, Falkirk and District Royal Infirmary, in fact, in Scotland. A consultant surgeon named Robert Smith, not of the Cure.
Oh, no, he is of the Cure.
That'd be awesome. I'd be very impressed if this
Robert
is the
Smith
same
is
Robert Smith.
not the most unique name in the world. There would be a lot of Robert Smiths.
Why do you say that?
No, it's not like Pantaloop's Gargamel. Like there was probably only one of those people. But Robert Smith, there's probably a lot of them. But Robert Smith is very much of the Cure. Like
of course he is.
All the other Robert Smiths have to say, no, I'm not the Robert Smith.
No, after this, you'll change your mind.
Oh, okay.
No, you probably won't. Anyway, he's a consultant surgeon in Scotland at this NHS hospital, and he amputated the legs of two men, one on each date, and neither of them had anything physically wrong with them.
You've done the surgeons behaving badly episode. You can't tell me all other surgeons have to be good.
You said he's behaving badly. You're leaping ahead. Both of the men, one was from England, one was from Germany, both men were convinced they would only feel normal once that limb had been removed.
Okay.
They both chose to have a leg amputated, both of them just above the knee.
Yes, okay.
Both had been turned away by other doctors, basically every other doctor.
So I'm game, right? I'm game. I'll do it. No one else will.
I'll fucking do it. I've had a fifth of whiskey and whiskey with it, and then I had a whiskey chase, and I'll fucking do it. So Robert Smith, not of the Cure, although maybe, he went to the chief executive and medical directors of the hospital and got them, they agreed to it. They have both since changed jobs. But he
Up,
went to
down,
different,
side.
definitely different.
They didn't get promoted to head of ethics or something.
Yes. No, the phrase is definitely, they have since changed jobs. This is an article. I'm taking this from the British Medical Journal too.
Yeah, okay, but that is a huge euphemism. They have changed jobs.
Because, both changed jobs.
There are many directions here.
There really are. Well, there's three, across, up, or down. Oh, no, there's also four, out.
Yeah.
They've changed.
Yeah.
So he got agreement. Chief executive and the medical director both said, okay. He discussed a procedure with the Medical Defense Union. So they have this mob who look after doctors and surgeons and stuff.
Why is it defense? Why not just medical union?
I don't know why. Well, they're particularly about defending or at least protecting, representing medicos. He also discussed with the ethics committee of the General Medical Council, and they all said, all right, you can do that. So the patients had failed to respond to conventional treatments. Like whatever people tried to say about, look, that's your leg, and they're like, no, it doesn't belong there.
What are conventional treatments? Like writing
psychiatrists, psychologists,
write your leg on their leg, or
this
is yours, part of you. Draw pictures.
Whenever you think it's not yours, snap the rubber band. It'll break your cognitive dissonance.
I don't know about that.
It works. Was that CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy? Whenever you really want to rape that donkey, snap the rubber band. It's a donkey. They're victimless. So it works for extreme crimes. You can edit that out. Are you doing it now?
I'm not going to edit that out. It's just you being terrible.
So the patients didn't respond to conventional treatments. They were seen by psychiatrists and psychologists, etc. So, it was all going well. But the Chester of the board, yes, I'm sticking with Chester because it's non-gendered. You don't look happy. And the board members under the Chester of Forth Valley Acute Hospital's National Health Service Trust, the mob who run the hospital, they were unaware at the time of the operations. Oh. So the chief medical guy and the medical director knew, but the board and the chair of the trust did not know.
Okay. All right.
So they learnt about it in 1999 when Smith told the new chief executive, the one who took over from the other guy, that he was assessing a third potential patient.
Oh, look, I'm famous for it, right? I've done it twice before. No,
sir. Cut off another leg. What you reckon?
Sir, you've done it twice before. Tell us more.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of a, excuse me. So it was an American. I don't know if it was a male or a female. That I could not find. So the trust went, really? Nah. Oh. We don't want you to.
But there's a precedent, right?
There's two.
You can just go on that.
Yeah, there's two precedents, you fucking assholes. So Smith said he didn't take a fee for the operations. He didn't feel good about that. The hospital was paid some money.
Why didn't he take a fee?
Because he's a good guy.
No, see, I think once you think not taking a fee makes something okay, then that's not quite right. Like I think that doesn't solve a problem. That doesn't solve the problem.
Why would you say that?
I don't know. Yeah.
Hey, I think it's okay. Who was chair of an ethics committee, you or me?
No, not me.
Exactly.
Not me. I'm just saying that not taking a fee for something doesn't turn it instantly into okay.
It's kind of funny, isn't it? Do you want some money? No. Keep your poons. So apparently he didn't take a fee, but the hospital got £3,000 back in the day, so late 90s, which went back into the NHS. So they're justifying that. This is all coming from the British Medical Journal. This is not a tabloid.
So these are international people. So international people had shopped around. So hang on, there was one English person, a German person,
a Pom, and a German, and this is then there was an American, the third applicant.
So they had shopped around a little bit. I'm assuming because you don't start with a Scottish hospital. You might start local.
No, but you don't go straight to the lead singer of The Cure. That's too quick. You start with local bands who are also moonlighting as surgeons. So Smith said the patients who wanted to have their limbs amputated, there are a number of people who want their limbs amputated, but for various reasons.
It's a growth industry.
It is a removal industry. But these guys were part of a small subgroup who literally felt incomplete with 4 limbs, but completed with 3.
Yes. I'm over-complete. I'm over-complete is the problem.
Yeah, I'm too complete. You pay extra for ultra-completion. So Smith's concern, and this comes up a lot, people who are in this position would often resort to self-harm. So they do things like shoot their leg off.
Yes, yeah.
Or lie on a railway track and wait for a train to rumble by.
Oh, no, they don't. Do they? No, they don't.
Oh, yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
My God, I would... considering myself glad that I am not in this situation, but I think I would try a few things before the train.
Oh, well, I'll give you some hints later.
Don't.
So Smith, the surgeon, said, look, they're a strange group of people who have had this obsession since childhood. The more I saw these patients, the more I realized this was an extremely distressing and a disabling condition. So he said basically the patients' lives had been transformed by losing a limb, and they were delighted with their new state. Both of them had artificial limbs fitted, though they often didn't wear them.
Oh, did they? I was assuming that the whole point was to not have anything there, but...
Yeah, no, they had them fitted. Maybe they kind of felt obliged to. You can imagine someone coming along going, lost a leg, have you, laddie? Would you like a fake one? Smith said at a press conference at the hospital afterwards, at the end of the day, I have no doubt that what I was doing was the correct thing.
Welcome to the Wholesome Show. Science stories for people with any number of legs.
Any number. You can have 6, you can have none. We don't care.
I was going to go 0, 1 or 2. Or 3 if you are... I don't know how many people there are like that. There might be.
Are you allowed to quote Rolf Harris?
No, you're not. But regardless of your number of legs, we have science stories for you. The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant.
And me, Dr. Roderick, 2 legs Lamberts.
2 legs Lamberts.
3 knees, though. Very confusing.
It's brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
And extraneous limbs. And ethical surgery.
You
don't look happy.
No, I'm totally happy. Again, I am not the chair of the Wholesome Show Ethics Committee. That is your job.
That is mine.
I'm the chair of the
rest of it.
The rest of it. I don't think it's that unethical.
I just run the subcommittee. You take care of the real beeswax because you got the business smarts. So we're in February 2000 now. UK Guardian story. So ever since he was 8 years old, Kevin Wright knew what he needed. Mm-hmm. This was the age he first remembers being aware of his pathological, quote, desire to lose his left leg.
Ever since you can remember?
Since he was 8, at least.
Okay, people can remember.
He remembers it happening. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the difference between being 6 and 9, but he remembers it as being 8.
I mark all of those off, like which Transformer toys I had. I know which year.
I mark it as, was it in primary school or high school?
No, I don't actually remember anything. It's all a melange.
Yeah, you only remember little bits and smells, obviously. So he knew that the way he felt about his leg was something he shouldn't tell others. So he didn't, as a kid, share his thoughts with anyone.
Yeah, okay.
And his quotes were, I just didn't want it. It just didn't feel like it was part of me. I didn't understand why, but I knew I didn't want my leg. Can you imagine being 8 and thinking this? I knew I couldn't be the only one to feel this way, but I couldn't find anything or anyone to help me understand it. It really wore me down. I was desperate for help.
Yeah.
This is his adult memory of being a child, but I can imagine it's probably not inaccurate.
Oh no! Look, I am empathizing here with someone who has whatever is causing this situation. It does sound debilitating to look at a bit of your body and go, no, that's not my bit. I don't want it.
The closest I've come to that, I think about this periodically. You look at your hand or something, and imagine if for some reason it was cut off. The fact that you could pick up your hand instantly after that moment, and it's just a lump of meat. It's suddenly 1 second it was you, and then it's just an object in the distance. I find that.
It's not an object in the distance. I am screaming. I am panicking, and the thing
assuming you're not in pain,
and this thing is bleeding all over me, and it was me. It is not an object in the distance. Look at you. You're all, I would be above this. I've got my hand blown off. It's not too bad.
At least I have another one to pick it up with and eat it. So nobody realised how Kevin felt. Or Wright, I may alternate between his names, until he was 28. He'd been married to his wife for 7 years.
Because I can imagine, you've been married to your partner for 7 years, and I'm sure there are people that harbour secrets for long times in their lives, and
not me. I tell everyone everything.
No, sure, I don't doubt that you do. But I'm just saying that there might be people, and there are uncomfortable conversations. It's like I came to this marriage, and turns out I prefer the other sex, or maybe I am not of this sex, and they'd be big changes. But
I have 3 secret families. Yep, I used to eat people.
I no longer want this.
Yeah. So
my prejudices are running hard here.
You're just making observations. You're not saying you agree with them.
No,
I got your back, man. As head of the ethics committee, I'm saying it's okay to just make observations. Okay. So she apparently was surprised but accepting of his confession and gave him the confidence to go and seek professional help.
Okay.
It didn't go well.
No. What's the definition of well here?
Well, it wasn't immediately the best. So he says, I encountered some very short-sighted psychiatrists, so they're blind, who didn't know what they were talking about. They threatened compulsory electric shock treatments. I had some nasty experiences with heavy prescribed drugs, but none of them touched my problem.
I know that psychiatry is not the most precise of things, that quite often it's let's try this and see if it helps.
Yep.
But the idea that there is a drug that will make you feel like the leg that you believe is not part of you is suddenly part of you, I think it would be a miracle drug.
Yeah. Yeah, psychiatry is the suck it and see profession. It is true. Suck it and see with science.
Yeah, suck it and see and then write it down afterwards.
Yes, so post hoc science. He was variously told he was off his trolley, that he was paranoid, that he had dementia or he had delusions. Off his trolley is in the DSM-4.
Yeah, but this is in 2000, right? You said?
Oh, this is in the 90s.
Okay, yeah.
This is before.
Oh, before the other two. Okay, cool.
Yeah. He said they were desperate to label me, but they couldn't find a label that fitted. So as far as he was concerned, amputation above the knee was the only feasible option. So he couldn't bear life with his leg intact. He said he contemplated suicide when he couldn't find a surgeon who was willing to remove it. As he put it, few of the medical profession knew about it, and even fewer wanted to know about his situation.
Is this something that is exclusively legs? I mean, do people have it for their arms as well?
Hang on.
Okay.
Not just legs.
Okay, good. Oh, I mean, I assume it's not weird bits.
It's a good question.
Like this belly button is not mine, so I have to get rid of it.
I need an apple core and a
I don't know, or like a nose. I mean, at least legs and arms, we have a history of.
Fuck me! Imagine a nose. This nose isn't mine. I want a hole in the middle of my head that isn't my mouth. Anyway, that's just the idea of not having a nose bothers me. That's why I don't do coke anymore.
I want to look a lot like a skeleton. That's what I want. I want the full skull look.
Yeah, I want to look. Was it Hail Hydra?
Yeah.
So, he said basically the medical profession looked at him like he was nuts and they didn't understand. So Wright was the first guy that Robert Smith operated on. He was the first leg removal.
And he successfully, according to Success, he got it done. Okay.
He got it done. So according to both gentlemen, the operation was both a clinical and personal success. So Kevin, right, says, of course I'm not a different person now, but I might as well be. I have happiness and contentment, and life is so much more settled and so much easier. By taking my leg away, that surgeon has made me complete.
Good on him. I'm very happy for him.
It's really, it's a lot though, isn't it? I mean,
but you know what? I think the whole idea is a lot. It's a lot to process, and it does trigger a whole lot of prejudices in terms of that's not normal. But it is also what right have I got to tell him what to do with his body? But
look, I'm okay with that. But that's my nature, and I think it's predominantly yours as well. But it's not a lot of people.
Oh no, I like telling people what to do with their body all the time. Like, you should do that. Grow your hair differently.
That's why you're a teacher, right?
Yeah, I do nothing but tell students.
You, dress different. You, why have you got so many legs? You.
A bit more hair. You, a bit less. Yeah.
Yep. You, swap hair. It's not that uncommon, though. So healthy people seeking amputations is less rare than you think. So there's a couple of great examples here. I just thought I'd, give you some background. So in 1998, a 79-year-old man from New York, let's go America, went to Mexico, paid 10 grand for a black market leg amputation. He died of gangrene in a motel.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't like that story.
No.
I didn't like that story.
Okay, these are better ones. Both.
I didn't also like that he obviously, being 79, let's assume he has lived with this this pathological dislike of his leg for that length of time. Well,
this is assuming he has the same reasons for not wanting his leg as our friend Kevin.
Of course.
The year after, 99, a mentally competent man, as the report goes, in Milwaukee severed his arm with a homemade guillotine and then threatened to sever it again if surgeons reattached it.
So, I as a home handicrafts gentleman...
You got one in the shed, right? Have you made your own guillotine yet?
So, how do you explain to your family, when you're making when you're making a home guillotine, and they're like, "What's that for, Dad?"
Paper, scrapbooking.
And then why is the whole arm sized? What are we doing here? I don't think anyone should make a guillotine at home. I just,
especially not for body parts.
I just don't think that's a thing that anyone needs to do. If you're in the French Revolution Museum and it's like, okay, we need to have a guillotine. We got to show what it looks like. That's cool. But
I thought you were going to say in the gift shop there's a make your own guillotine kit.
Guaranteed. There's little ones in the gift shop. There's like a cut your cigar with this. Like it's a little. I haven't been to the French Revolution.
There would be,
but cut your cigar. That'd be cool. But
now I want to take up smoking again.
Dr. Guillotine was always very, very disappointed that his invention got his name.
Is that right?
Yeah, he decided.
Are you bringing an episode in the future?
No, I'm not going to. I don't think there's a whole episode on this. It's just he wanted. He was thinking mainly about the ethics of executions. I think he saw a really bad execution. It was enough before the French Revolution that it wasn't a French revolutionary thing. But he saw some bad executions where their heads are being cut off by axes or something like that.
Yeah, multiple hacking.
And it takes like 8 blows, and it's horrible. And he's like, no, there must be a more efficient way.
It's not all Ned Stark going whoosh.
And so what he wanted to do was make a machine that would be as efficient as possible for both the executioner and the executionee. And and then it was taken up quite a lot in the French Revolution, and then it was called Guillotine's machine. And he was not stoked about that.
No, couldn't you call it the head cutter?
Yeah, just the head.
Anything but that.
Just anything.
Call it Pierre. There are many Pierres. It could not be me, So in 1999, again, a legal investigator for the California State Bar was refused hospital amputation. So she tied off her legs with tourniquets, packed them in ice, and hoped the gangrene would set in so they would have to amputate them.
This is where I think about the ethics of this. Clearly, these people are willing to do harms to themselves that are very risky. Oh, yeah,
and look, we're gonna get into more of that detail as this wonderful story progresses. But yes, exactly. It's this is a fraught area. So she ultimately passed out and she gave up. So she didn't get the gangrene she was looking for. And she said, well, look, I'll probably have to lie under a train or shoot my legs off with a gun.
God damn it. You do have to have a fair bit of stick-to-itism to cut your own leg off, though. Like you
got to be committed.
This is not a thing for quitters.
Well, imagine tourniqueting a part of your body, waiting for it to rot. Like, it's not quick.
What is the time frame we're talking? Like, you need to...
It's hours.
You've got to order Uber Eats quite a few times before...
I'm thinking many. Like, just leave it on the front step. Actually, can you bring it around the back and put it through the window? I just want the soup so you can pour it. Like, it would not be.
There better
great.
be a happily ever after in this episode.
This is going to end in a way that's just going to make you believe in love and magic.
Good.
Anyway.
So is Rod thinking, no way, you're gonna
how do I spin this?
you're gonna hate the human condition.
No, it's not as bad as the last episode about how Bitcoin will destroy the human race. This one's just a few people. So this phenomenon is essentially or generally classified as body dysmorphic disorder, BDD. So this is a condition where sufferers fixate on parts of their body. They become convinced these body parts need to be different in many ways.
And so often manifests like, I'm fatter than I imagine I am. And
yeah, or actually, and there's one quote, this is from a few years ago now, it says they estimate in the US BDD might be responsible for around about 7% of plastic surgeries on noses, breasts, and buttocks.
I would say,
yeah.
Okay, so there's a chunk of people that they have a car accident and it's like, okay, now not my face, I need that reconstruction. Guaranteed there was a whole chunk of plastic surgeries for that. How do we diagnose the elective plastic surgeries that are not BDD?
Well, I don't know, and this is a good question, because if someone goes in and just says, I want a nose that looks more like Sylvester Stallone's, does that mean you're psychologically broken? I don't think.
Oh no, but then there you go. You're psychologically broken. Maybe this is just a diagnosis to say this is a thing that people have, in the sense that if you have chosen that without any other thing happening to you that you want a new nose, isn't that by some definitions BDD?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, and
we could be
it's
softer.
as if psych categories aren't perfect.
But we could also be softer on the judgment of having BDD and going, yes, that is something.
Yeah, I want a different nose. I can easily do it. Cost a few bucks and is uncomfortable for a few months. Fuck whatever, do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
Like, let's get rid of the judgment here.
Yeah, for once, I'm not the judgy one.
No, neither am I.
This is not common.
I think we're straw manning some fake judger out there. But anyway.
Yeah, there's one listener, you know who you are. So in some cases, psychiatrists claim you can alleviate the condition with psychotherapy. So let's have a talk about it, snap the rubber band, etc.
Yep.
But this had no effect on Kevin.
Every time you visualize Sylvester Stallone's nose, you snap the rubber band.
Flick the rubber band. But it had no effect on Kevin Wright. He said he was eventually palmed off with Prozac. So stop worrying about it, mate. Take Prozac. But this was in the 90s, and Prozac was the big thing in psychiatry at the time. So it's no surprise that he was given that. He said, look, this is interesting. What he was requesting was not illegal. Like, it's not illegal to do that.
So here's a question I've got, because and I am not a police or a law guy, a law guy of these sorts of things. My understanding was that there is you are not able to commit grievous bodily harm to yourself or to someone else. In the sense that there is some sort of cutoff, and at that point you are not able to grievously harm yourself because it. So
understanding what harm means, like as I said for Robert Smith of The Cure, when he talked to all these different people, including the Medical Defense League or whatever they were called, they talked about what was potentially good and bad, and they were convinced that his case was. It was causing him enough harm, the fact that he had his leg, that it was okay. So what constitutes harm is pretty tricky.
No? Okay.
It's done under surgical conditions. It's not like Smith walks in and blows his knee off and walks away.
Yeah, so there you go. So under surgical conditions is a way to minimise that harm.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's a cost-benefit analysis, etc. And so basically Smith was saying, look, although it wasn't illegal, no one would refer him to an NHS surgeon, and he couldn't find private surgeons on the whole who were willing either. And he said, I just wanted someone to recognize I had a problem. I hoped to spark their interest, but there really wasn't much interest. And part of the problem with this is the accepted wisdom is that BDD is a psychological problem, so it should be treated psychologically, not with surgery. And you can see the thinking, but that doesn't mean it's good thinking.
Oh, look, I think this does parallel with other body identification issues. In a deep way that we have changed quite a lot in society over the last 20, 30 years. In recognizing, hang on, maybe there are deep-set reasons and we shouldn't judge those reasons. We should allow that person to live the life that they want to live, such as the intersex community. But
I'm intersex. Is that what you meant? That's the best joke ever. Carry on.
How do I carry on from that?
Let's just stop. No, thanks for listening, everyone.
But this is there are a lot of parallels here. There are a lot of parallels in who gets to choose what your body, how your body functions, what your body is, what your body does. And
yeah. And look, the reason I was going to do this episode nearly a year ago, but there is just so much material, and exactly that. When you dive into all the detail, it gets pretty damn detailed. Let's just say.
Oh, we're nothing if not detailed people.
Yeah, and we are. We're all about the detail. We only give a shit about the weeds. We don't even know there's a big picture. We don't know what it means. So I just want to rummage around in body dysmorphic disorder a bit further. BDD. So let's be clear. It's different to body integrity dysphoria.
Oh.
BID.
Yeah.
Because that is a desire to be disabled or being uncomfortable with being abled.
Oh, okay.
It's different.
You're just throwing out there something that I did not know about. You saving that for another episode, or are you going to just tell me enough of a detail there?
That's all you got. But the thing is, this is not the same as Wright's situation.
So they're not necessarily looking to be disabled, as we could imagine. Some people might. They go, I want to.
Well, they have a desire to, or they either and or desire to be disabled, or don't feel comfortable about being fully able-bodied.
So that's the BID people.
That's the BID, but the BDD people, it's a different situation.
It's not about ability. It's more about.
There are varieties. Like I said early on in the intro, there are subgroups of which Wright and
Are you going to tell me that psychological categories aren't perfect?
I would never do that to you or to psychology or psychiatry. I wouldn't do it. So body integrity dysphoria, you don't have to remember this at home. Don't put down the pen. You don't have to make notes. It's not the same as Wright's condition, because he's just simply, people like him, that limb shouldn't be there. Not I want to be disabled, blah, blah, blah. It just shouldn't be there.
Yep.
But of course it can blur because exactly as you said, psychological categories aren't perfect. So Smith started to think about Wright's situation, and he became particularly interested in a position taken by an American neuroscientist called Professor V.S. Ramachandran.
V.S. Ramachandran?
Yeah.
Huh.
Now, he wrote a book called Phantoms in the Brain, but he was also part of an episode that I inflicted upon you on the 28th of February 2019.
I remember it.
Phantom Itches.
To be honest, it was triggering me a little bit.
Yeah. So that was the episode where a woman scratched her head so hard due to a compulsion that she dug through her skull and cerebrospinal fluid.
Again. Where is the happy ever after?
We're not over yet. There's heaps to go. Don't worry, man. The story just gets better. It's like a Disney cartoon. It's like Up, only sadder. No, less sad. Oh, who could tell?
No.
So anyway,
nothing is sadder than Up. Anyway.
No, that's true. Who knew? I didn't know until I watched it. Robert Smith dug into this, and so he read Ramachandran's work about this whole brain issue. And Ramachandran's thesis was basically that severe expressions of body dysmorphia, BDD, like Kevin had, might not be caused by psychosomatic illness, but a functional disorder in the brain. So it essentially erases the limb from the mind. So when people look at it, they're like, this just doesn't fucking belong. Their brain tells them this shouldn't be there.
Well, I mean, obviously it's
it's like your extra nipple. It shouldn't be
in the brainal
there.
Region. Yeah, no, but I don't have a lot of sensation in any of my nipples. So it's not it's not like I really feel, that one is different from the other. So it's not a problem.
Yeah, so this is interesting. It was, and this is much like, go back and listen, folks. 28th of February, 2019.
Don't give them homework. Don't give them homework.
Delicious episode.
Don't give them homework.
No, I'm giving them home pleasure, so to speak. Different service. So he was saying basically, this is biological, not psychological. There's a piece of the brain that's messed up or missing that says this bit of me shouldn't be there. So,
by meaning biological, like still not a. It's like a neuroscience thing. Like there's something missing.
Yeah, neuroscience, rather than you had a weird experience and decided you shouldn't have a foot. It's like, no.
Tell me about your mother's foot. It's not something like that.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's not your mum didn't have a leg, so you don't want one either. It's like there's a bit of your brain that's not working in a way that most people's brains work. You see a leg and go, what the fuck is that doing now? I don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
So Kevin and Smith, both of these, Kevin Smith, I didn't think of that. They were unhappy with this umbrella label of BDD. And so Smith, the surgeon, was saying, I think there are 4 different reasons healthy people might seek an amputation, and it can be hard to tell these different conditions apart. So let's hear it. Are you ready? 1, psychopathic serial self-mutilators.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So they seek out amputations.
That's not actually a reason. That's a type of person I get.
That's more like a calling.
Yeah.
They seek out amputation as as he put it, ultimate in personal gratification. I mean, we've all been there.
Indeed.
The second one is people who want their healthy limbs removed so they can become more dependent on relatives and carers. So they want to be dependent. It's kind of like a self-Munchausen sort of thing.
Is that different from they want to be disabled, the BID one?
Yeah, it's the care thing. Like, this is a way for them to be requiring help from others.
Oh,
I know, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Ugh,
thanks, buddy. Because that does sound like you are inflicting yourself on others. Like, but do
you know why it sounds like that?
Because it is.
Because it is. Yeah, 100%. The third one, they gain vicarious sexual pleasure from the fantasy of being an amputee. So, cut off a leg.
Not really vicarious,
raise the dick.
Not really vicarious.
Yeah, I don't. It's not only vicarious; it's actual. But that's the way he worded it. But basically, being an amputee or hanging with amputees, but being one makes you get the hornies.
Yeah, and look, okay, if you do, then who are we to judge?
Look, if you got to cut off your leg to raise your old champ, then good for you. But it's got to be. There's a finite lifespan on that.
Yeah. Well, you got two.
Yeah, maybe an arm as well. 2 arms. There you go. You get 4 hard-ons in your life. And the fourth category are people like Kevin who desire to lose a limb because the desire is all-consuming. It just shouldn't be there. So, yeah, psychopathic self-mutilators.
They desire to lose a limb because the desire is all-consuming.
Yeah.
Tautology.
This is his language. This is a surgeon's language. He's no psychiatrist. He's not an expert.
He's no writer.
No. But the bottom line is basically they just know it shouldn't be there.
Okay, all right.
None of the other details. It just shouldn't be.
So they're not
there.
getting
This
off.
is wrong.
They're not getting off. They're not wanting to get care from others. They're not.
It's not like a psychopathic, some kind of weird self-expression of awesomeness or whatever the fuck a psychopath does.
But actually, interestingly, I get it. That these people, this fourth category, it does sound actually quite self-contained. They are saying, no, I don't have any of those other things. I just don't. Yeah. That thing is not me.
Yeah, that's it. And look, according to Smith again, these people are very distressed, they're very troubled, and for them, surgery could certainly be appropriate. But he would not consider it for the other 3 groups. For them, there's other shit going on as far as he's concerned.
I'm not helping you to get off.
No, I'm not helping you to make your mother have to look after you until she's dead, and I'm not helping you for the other one.
But he would help. He would help for people that in this fourth category. All right.
Yeah, who are convinced that this doesn't belong here. So, obviously, when we talk about anything like this, there's going to be a sex bit. And that's what people want to talk about.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm fine.
Of course you're fine with it. This is why I'm doing this one for you, man. We can't talk about this stuff without talking about the thoughts about the sex bits. So this starts back in 1886. There's
sex bits, you mean actually of the genitals? There's people that have this about their, as opposed to...
No, people who are attracted to things that are not what everyone would normally or more commonly be attracted to, that involve things like being, less limbed.
Okay.
So a book was written by Richard von Krafft-Ebing.
Richard von Krafft-Ebing?
Von Krafft-Ebing. Who has been referred to as the grand old man of psychosexual pathology.
What a great name. That's
I know, right? I am Richard von Krafft-Ebing. I am the grand old man of psychosexual pathology. Tell me your problems only about the trousers. So he wrote the Psychopathia Sexualis in 1886. Can you imagine him? What are you doing? I'm just writing another perversion. I'm writing another perversion.
I know that it's going to be like a 19th century book, and so it's going to be. There's going to be some long paragraphs, and the title is going to be long. But it does sound like a cracking read, though.
Oh yeah, but I think it's more of a cracking list. Yeah, okay. I don't think it's particularly. I don't think there's a narrative here, but there are stories. So apparently he catalogued an astonishing range of paraphilias. So paraphilias are psychosexual disorders.
Yep.
And outside of medicine, the layperson might call them perversions.
Are they all disorders, though, as opposed to just... I assume that
in this case they are. They're all considered to be disordered.
And still continue to be considered to be disordered?
It varies.
I mean, obviously...
It changes every few decades.
Our understanding of sexuality has changed a fair bit since
1886. Well, I'll give you an example or 3.
Yep.
So he listed things, everything from necrophilia to bestiality.
Yep.
To fetishes for aprons.
I still, since I was 13 and heard about the concept.
Which one?
Bestiality. Like, why does it end up with the name best?
Not beast. Why is it not beast?
Bestiality would make it a lot better.
Yeah.
But bestiality sounds like it's the.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was
bestiality
named,
you can do.
It sounds like it was named by an animal fucker. Like they're like, no,
100%.
this one is the bestiality. Like,
Yeah. There are so many ealities, but this one, bang an animal. It's the bestiality. So necrophilia, banging a corpse, banging an animal, but he also went to fetishes for aprons, handkerchiefs,
aprons,
gloves, aprons.
Why is that? Why is that a paraphilia? Are we the aprons on a person, or is it just the apron?
It was non-specific, but basically, if you see an apron and you issue forth,
look, I'm just imagining situations here. I can imagine aprons in a situation that don't judge me for it. I mean, it's not no paraphilia. What's the problem?
No. Of course, I mean, if a person who is attractive to you is wearing nothing but an apron, it's not the apron. It's not the apron.
It's the combination, maybe.
Yeah, it's not the apron. It's not like you're walking through Woolworths and you see an apron aisle and you go, I just got to be alone for a moment.
Love, okay, take the apron off. Now, I'll just go.
I don't like you anymore.
I'll just go away with the apron.
Exactly. Clean up while I'm gone.
Yes. No, okay.
But he also, he described many.
Did he find people for whom it was the apron?
He probably did. Look, if I'd read that book as well, this episode would go for 3 years.
Yeah, okay.
So he also found amongst all these paraphilias, people who had attractions to what he called bodily defects.
Yep.
For example,
28-year-old
engineer who was excited by the sight of disfigured feet on women since he was 17. And apparently René Descartes had the hots for cross-eyed women.
And triangles. Cross-eyed women. Did he really?
Yeah, cross-eyed women. Which is apparently according to the grand old man of psychosexual pathology.
Cogito ergo sum. And
also, God, she's cross-eyed. I'd need to be alone for a minute. So this is the 1886 version. This is the warm-up for paraphilias. So in 1977, a psychologist called John Money, who was working out of Johns Hopkins, he published the first modern case of what he called apotemnophilia, which is an attraction to the idea of being an amputee. Mm-hmm. Apotemnophilia. I don't know why it's called that. I'm sure there's a Greek, Latin, Sanskrit version.
It does sound a bit Egyptian.
It does, doesn't it? Egyptian, you're right. It's probably Egyptian. This is, of course, you're wondering, should I confuse this with acrotomophilia? And it's a good question to ask, William. That's a sexual attraction to amputees as opposed to being an amputee.
Yeah, no, very different. I can understand that. It's very different.
As we both know, it's just for people listening at home. So the problem
can you have
here
them both at the same time?
I bet you can. In fact, you might as well.
Oh, cool.
Then you can be self-attracted.
I
cut out the middle human. Anyway, so apotemnophilia. So, but by calling it this, you make it a paraphilia, which means this John Money guy in 77 located it in the wild and crazy world of psychosexual disorders.
Yeah.
Of course, that means then the moment news of Kevin's surgery broke in the greater public world, his house was besieged by the media. Guy gets his leg cut off to make his dick hard kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's a paraphilia.
That's
the
only way we can think about it.
The only way we can think want to get your leg cut off is because you want to bang, I think, is the summary version. So tabloid hacks interviewed colleagues. They interviewed neighbours around his house. So
right. When he's talking about want to bang things, does he always talk about wanting to cut his leg off?
Yeah. This fucker says he wants to cut his leg off so he can get one away. Is that true?
Who talks to their colleagues about your paraphilias? I mean...
Well, we do, but we're not. We don't have a normal workplace.
Of course, but still... Like, the whole point of paraphilia is you kind of don't...
What you're forgetting is a tabloid. A tabloid goes, and he hasn't told you anything, but what do you suspect?
When he said he wanted to fuck corpse, did he say it where he wanted to do it? Because around work, did he...
Yeah. Did it come up? Did he go away and say he was buying lunch, but he came back with blood on his trousers? For example.
I just don't think interviewing colleagues will get much.
Oh, they got plenty. Well, no, they tried. So they rummaged around trying to get stuff out of them, and the best they could find was he didn't actually go and get a disabled sticker for his car, even though he was entitled because he was now disabled. Woo. Sex scandal went off.
I'm just thinking of the headline right now. Man doesn't get disabled sticker when deserving one, but
to which
not
he would
quite
be entitled because he cut his own leg off.
What a headline.
I know, right? They sold hundreds.
I read an article today. And admittedly, I don't know why, but it was about a woman that had a horrible experience at Aldi because the Aldi person was scanning her stuff too fast. And I'm like,
what?
It does sound distressing. Maybe the checkout person was scanning, scanning too quickly. But I was reading it, and I was just thinking, why did you make a story out of this? But then I was like, oh, but I'm reading it, so
so that's why.
That's why.
What kind of idiot would write this whole story? I mean, I read it, right? I read all of it. I don't understand why anyone would write this.
I was looking for the bit. Where is the bit? But I still read it, and I'm sharing it now.
Yeah, because it's idiotic. This didn't stop the tabloids, of course. So there was the Scotland Herald said the headline was "Amputee surgeon knew of sex link."
Okay.
And it says the surgeon who carried out amputations on 2 physically healthy men has admitted he knew in advance that one of them ran an internet website for people sexually interested in amputees.
Okay. So that's not one of the 4 categories. You
it is. No, it's no. But it is.
It's one of the 4 categories, but not the one that is you're allowed to.
Yeah, and that one of those people is, of course, it was our mate Kevin. That's who they were referring to. But there's a better piece of journalism from I found it via the Free Library by far.
Why can't we privilege people's sexual needs in this kind of situation if it's not hurting anyone else?
I don't know. Advertising.
It's almost like, I don't know. Sex is kind of important.
Sure, man. And if you want to talk about that, we can. But but it doesn't have to be news. This is the best one. This is the best one I could find. Leg off man's lonely heart secret. He runs club for people who want disabled lovers. Leg off man. It doesn't roll.
No, but it sticks in your head.
It does.
The leg off man.
It's hard to read though. Like I'm looking at it going, leg off man.
But
is that
I assume this is in the UK, like legging off with something. Like people, you legged off.
Scotland,
yeah. So leg off is a phrase already. So he's the leg off man.
Yeah. So it comes out, disturbing new details emerged yesterday about the bizarre lifestyle of the man whose healthy leg was cut off by a Scots surgeon. Scots surgeons. Kevin Wright, 35, had his leg amputated at the knee at his own request after claiming he suffered a rare psychological disorder. Falkirk Royal Hospital surgeon Robert Clark, his name was Robert Smith, carried out the private operation on the grounds that Wright was a victim of body dysmorphic disorder.
However, we as a tabloid know
know better. Don't worry, they interview an expert in a tick. The hospital said the operation would not have gone ahead if Wright's motive was sexual. But last week it emerged that the father of one is behind a bizarre website for amputees and people who are sexually attracted to them. Yesterday it was revealed Wright publishes regular magazines and even organises, quote, lonely hearts parties for people seeking disabled lovers. His website, called Overground, was suddenly shut down last week, and it contained more than... Overground, yeah. I don't know why.
It's not a great name.
Sounds like it's for farmers or, I don't know, flight.
Or maybe that's how he started. You start. It's just for farmers to meet up and talk about their love of amputees, and then keep talking about their love. And then suddenly you're not on the farm anymore. Who cares?
No, suddenly you're banging a amputee.
Guaranteed. There are many websites that have gone through journeys. Not necessarily that one, but.
So it suddenly shut down. It contained more than 150 personal advertisements for amputees looking for partners. There were also dozens of adverts on the Free Lonely Hearts page for wannabes, who are people who want to be amputees. This is official jargon. The piece carries on. His colleagues in the government department at Essex University were shocked when he took 2 weeks off work and returned with only one leg. And you would be.
He worked at a university. I mean, I want to say he worked somewhere. Obviously, he worked somewhere. Yeah. It just brings it closer to the home, to the bone for us. Like, I would.
Holy shit, Jimbo, you're kneeless.
You know what it'd be. How do you ask the right question? Like,
what happened?
Yeah, I know that's where you start, but you want to drill in. But it's like, can you?
You preface it with, look, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, right? What the fuck happened? Where's your leg, mate?
Maybe it's like asking if someone's pregnant. It's like, I noticed some changes around here.
Christ, I did that once. I was wrong. They weren't. It was the classic shitty sitcom. When's it due? What? Oh, fuck me. I did some learning after that.
Yeah, you know what though?
Well, yeah.
I watched a documentary once that it ended badly, but it did make me think that we need to not be so scared of that question.
Yeah, it's true. And also, honestly, yeah, whatever. Move on with your life.
Oh, as two blokes, we can solve this problem. But anyway,
two white, heterosexual, middle-aged.
Well,
privileged.
I think the our race doesn't matter at this point. But
how dare you, sir?
I'm just saying it's unlikely.
Are you ashamed?
You or I will go through this potential. I mean, if I was to ask you, it would probably just be amusing.
Yeah, be like, you got fat to. The piece goes on. It says about Wright, he convinced psychiatrists that cutting off his leg was the only way to deal with his body dysmorphic disorder. But don't worry, they got an expert. Kim Taylor of the National Phobic Society said to them,
just general phobics, or
national phobics. They're afraid of nations.
Okay, well, fair enough. Me, right? I'm a globalist, and you're a localist. But
are you a country? I'm fucking terrified. I've heard there's more than one. I'm going under my bed and I'm going to rock quietly. She says, Kim, I assume Kim's a lady. It could be a man.
It could be.
It doesn't sound like he's got body dysmorphic disorder. It sounds more like a psychosexual disorder. Some people even get turned on by the act of amputation. Others will go to any lengths to get their limb amputated for a sexual thrill.
Thanks, Kim. You're really helping the problem here.
Yep. She's been really good in this tabloid. A spokeswoman, they said specifically, for Falkirk Royal Infirmary, the hospital, revealed they knew Mr. Wright was involved in a website but had no idea what it was about.
Oh,
yeah, we knew he had a website. We thought it was about trucks or cabbage. Oh. Yeah. But this sounds like they weren't exactly right.
Yeah, okay. And I get that there is a surgeon making choices here and an ethics board making choices. Sure. But how much due diligence do you need to go into? How much of someone's private life should you go into before performing a surgery on them? I think that in probably this conversation is not just a surgeon, but should involve an ethics board and a psychiatrist.
Sure.
But you ask the questions rather than let's go and have a look.
So this tabloid is probably not entirely accurate. So the website Overground, this isn't from the tabloid anymore, it describes itself as a support group for people who are attracted to those who have physical disabilities. Smith, the surgeon, told newspapers that he would not have operated on Wright if he thought the sexual fetish or asexual fetish was a factor. And people were claiming he'd been duped by Wright. He's been duped, this idiot surgeon. So that's my dog in the background telling a neighbour they shouldn't exist.
Oh, dogs are nice.
Yeah. So the website that Kevin started was an information website. It covered the whole spectrum of the problem, according to Robert Smith, although Kevin's own problem was at the far right of that spectrum, those who want an amputation.
What's on the left?
Other people who want to bang an amputee, I suppose.
Okay.
And the surgeon says, I looked at the website before I decided what I was going to do, and I wanted to be sure that I was dealing with the right problem. I have not been duped. At the end of the day, I've done the right thing because the patient is extremely satisfied and has made a major lifestyle change for the better. So classic tabloid. No, it's got to be about rooting.
Yeah.
And they didn't get all the details. So yeah, it's not about the sex thing in this instance. So BDD emerges preteen, very young, and that happened with Kevin, right? And Smith is really concerned, the surgeon, that children as young as 4 or 5 are living with this secret loathing and they don't know what to do, how to talk about it. Surely they deserve help, not derision, he says. And Kevin, of course, agrees that BDD should be brought into the open. He said some people start to get better as soon as they know they aren't the only person with a problem. But in itself, that may be enough to help them. Has your workplace exploded? You're going to write it down? Fair enough. So some people, just talking about it and letting people know is enough. But for others, that's not enough. So for them, only amputation will do. And if they can't get help to do it properly, they, as he puts it, seek relief in other ways. So Wright says, I'm aware of a number of people with the condition who have died as a result. Some simulate accidents. Others go to backstreet operators. It's truly tragic they're ignored. And there was a BBC documentary called Complete Obsession, in which a retired psychiatrist called Richard Fox said, let's face it, this is a potentially fatal condition.
Yeah.
Because people fucking kill themselves. They don't mean to, but that's what ends up happening.
Yep. Or sometimes they might, but yeah.
Yeah. It's rarely that they mean to if they're going for the limb thing.
Yeah.
So what true apotemnophiles share, these people, Smith, the surgeon, was in this doco too, is their body is incomplete with normal complements of 4 limbs. But others have speculated that it's not a psychiatric disorder, as we said, but a neuropsychological one. So it gets to the point where, and this is the piece that I read that was really quite astounding, perhaps it's less to do with the urges in the pants and more to do with being stuck in the wrong body.
Yeah, sure.
So this article from The Atlantic is called A New Way to Be Mad, which is a great heading.
So here's what I want to ask. So I'm down with the ethics of a fully investigated person. And I actually, if this is the only way to get sexual gratification, I'm not going to judge there. But I think let's go for category 4. They don't believe it's part of them. If the surgeon and the ethics board and the psychiatrist have done due diligence, who am I to judge? Who am I to step in? And I get that there are a lot of tabloids and knee jerkers that are like, no, you must keep what
knee jerking's a different fetish.
You must keep what God gave you, or what is there for the nation. You can't deliberately harm yourself in these ways.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to ask. So what if we could, if we imagine that this is a lump in their brain, it's a lump that doesn't have a bit of wiring. There's that leg lump, and there's a missing wire between leg lump and upper leg lump.
Yeah.
What if we could fix that?
Well, they haven't done that yet.
But what if they could?
Well, maybe they could. But this is where it gets,
But what if they could? Because how much could we go? I mean, here's the question.
Just put the wire back in.
Put the wire back in. Yeah. But then here's the thing. What if we're going in and putting the wire back in for a whole bunch of other conditions as well?
So would you rather have a leg amputated or brain surgery? Is what I'm hearing right now. And can I say neither?
Yeah, I know. But what if we could discreetly and perfectly fix this in the brain? Like you can no longer think this leg is not yours. We'll just put that wire in and bang, it's just you're missing a wire. We'll put that in.
Yeah, no, look, I think it's a fair question. That did not come up in this exploration, but it is a fair question. The Atlantic article, a guy called Carl Elliott dived into this in 2000, and he really went into it. Like he went deep.
He undercover as someone doing it, did it all the way
pretty much,
through.
Yeah, he
sew it back on later.
Fake cut his leg off. But he was really particularly interested in what does it mean to be stuck in the wrong body? And this has become particularly common now. We're more into this kind of conversation,
totally.
Transsexualism, etc. these days more than we were. This is only 20 years ago. And so he talked to people, but one of my favorites, well, there's 2 favorites here. So he talked to a woman who's an adjunct professor of social work, and she recounts the story of a 21-year-old lady who said, when I was 3 years old, I met a young man who's completely missing all 4 of his fingers on his right hand. Ever since that time, I've been fascinated by all amputees, especially women amputees who are missing parts of their arms and wore hook prostheses.
Yeah, but hooks. Let's put them in a different category because they're cool, and that's a different thing.
Yeah, they're pirates. Anyway, she's planning to have both her arms amputated. And that is something I cannot even get my head around. But that was a secondhand story. So Carl, the author, he started to try and talk to people. He dug in. So he says he's on the phone to a guy called Max, not his real name, graphic designer in Santa Fe, who was happy to talk to him about Apotemnophilia, the thing. He says, Max is a charming man. He's articulate. He's well-read. And despite my initial uneasiness about calling him, I'm enjoying our conversation.
Oh, okay.
He corresponded by email with a number of wannabes, people who want to be amputated. Hadn't managed to talk to any of them until he got hold of Max. The conversation had an easy intellectual tone, more like a discussion between colleagues than an interview. Max is telling me about his efforts to get doctors to adopt some guidelines for deciding when a person with Apotemnophilia should have surgery. I'm tossing out ideas, trying to test some of my thoughts. I wonder aloud about a relationship between apotemnophilia and obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Okay.
I asked Max whether he feels his desire is more like an obsession, or fantasy, or a wish. He says, it was definitely an obsession, until I cut my leg off, of course.
And they're no longer an obsession because I'm done.
Yeah. So Carl, the author, goes, that kind of surprised me. And in his head, he said, should I ask this guy? Should I ask? Okay. How'd you do it?
Yeah.
Apparently Max laughs and says, it's kind of messy. I did it with a log splitter.
Ooh.
And he very carefully, he went through, he said thoughtfully, dispassionately, how he'd done the research into anesthesia, into wound control, drove himself to the emergency room after partially amputating his limb.
I got it halfway off, and I'll get to the hospital, and then I'll fix it.
Yep.
Hang on, can I just confirm a log splitter?
Log splitter. So a big
it's like
thing that goes kaboom.
It's a fat axe. Yeah. How do you get enough momentum on a log splitter to get?
I assumed this was a powered one, rather than doing it for himself. But maybe because it was only partial, maybe he did kind of try and get the distance. And it's pretty messed up. So he got to the hospital. Surgeons tried to fix it. He lived with a reattached leg for 6 months until medical complications finally helped him persuade another surgeon to remove it.
Oh my God.
I know it's
a saga.
It really is. So Carl, the author of this piece, said, look, my own journey changed as I wrote it. I'll confess my opinions about amputation as a treatment have shifted since I began. Mm-hmm. So he says his initial thoughts were not unlike those of the magazine editor he approached about writing the story. And that editor said, thanks. This is definitely the most revolting query I've seen for a long time.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Is that a look at these weirdos sort of?
Yeah. I want to talk about people who want to do this shit, etc. So Carl spent a few years working with a research group, he said, interested in problems surrounding the use.
Don't tell me it's contagious and he suddenly wanted to do it himself.
He didn't, but he does worry about this as one of many things. I won't go into all those details. There's far too many, but there's so much in this story, and I'm not going to give all of it. We'll do episode 2, the backup. But so he worked with this group, and they're particularly interested in people who use medical interventions to change, enhance, or fix themselves. And one of the things this group struggled with is how to understand people, how they use the language of self-identity and to explain these interventions. So he's getting quite cerebral here.
Okay.
But he's describing people like a man who says he's not himself unless he's on Prozac. And this is a big deal about Prozac when it first came out. The fact that it changed people's personalities, it made them feel better, but it made them quite different people in some cases. So they were literally changing people with medical intervention. A woman who gets breast surgery to reduce her breast because she's just not the big-breasted type. A bodybuilder who takes anabolic steroids because he wanted to look on the outside like he felt on the inside. And, of course, also transsexuals, particularly feeling trapped in the wrong body. And the thing he points out is in each case, the only way to get this is with the intervention of medical science, which is kind of interesting in itself. The only way it can be you is with medicine.
Yep.
But ultimately, he says, there's a relentless logic to the people who want to lose their limbs. They say they're suffering. They have nowhere else to turn. And no matter what you ask them and how they do it, they're like, there's no way I can be right with this thing on me.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they realize life as an amputee won't be easy. They understand the problems they'll have with mobility. They understand their social lives will change. They know they'll have to adjust to get through the day. They're prepared to pay their own way. They say their bodies are theirs. They should be able to do what they want. Like, it's very, very clear. It's very, very clear the kinds of arguments they make. But Carl worries that, is this a problem? Because surgeons have made the human body fair game to play with it. So you can pay a surgeon to suck fat from your thighs, make your dick bigger, augment your breasts, redesign your labia, implant silicone horns into your forehead, split your tongue like a lizard's forked tongue, etc.
Do surgeons do those ones?
Yeah, they do. Or surgeons and or other, but yeah. So why not amputate a limb? Why is that different is one question posed. And Smith's motivation was to relieve Wright's suffering, to relieve Kevin's suffering.
Yeah. No, I can believe that, though.
Yeah. But Elliot worries about that too because, using surgical interventions for psychiatry doesn't have a great history. Gets pretty messy.
Yeah, sure. But there's a big difference between using surgical interventions that the patients have requested versus the psychiatrists.
The doctor. Yeah.
That's a different thing.
Yeah, and we got one flew over the cuckoo's nest and lobotomies, and we've talked about that in the past as well. But he draws a parallel here. So people who are working in gender identity clinics in the 70s started to get the shits because people were coming in who just wanted to get some kind of surgery, but because they understood the complexities of gender dysphoria, etc., they could rattle off the reasons and convince surgeons to operate on them, but for maybe disingenuous or more dangerous reasons. Yeah. So we're getting to the dangerous, a very perilous area of arbitrating between a genuine and a fake body.
But then that's the really interesting thing. I mean, in those 4 reasons that you said before, that we've decided that grievous mutilation is a no-no. Wanting to get off is a no-no. What was the other no-no? I don't know.
You just want to do it because it's a psychopathic wet dream or whatever.
Yeah, still, I think these boundaries are not very helpful, and I think that.
Well, again, if you're doing it to yourself, I mean, you said this, we both said it. If you're doing it to yourself, depending on the burden it puts on others, well, all right.
Well, I mean, that's the question in terms of, are you going to die, and is it going to? I think that's a legitimate thing that surgeons should consider. Is okay. What is the danger of this to you, to your life, and then what does it do to the people around you? That kind of stuff. But
yeah, but I mean, look, Carl Elliott also worries, the author of the Atlantic piece, that the track record of psychiatry and surgery can be difficult, but more to the point, surgery, apparently, at least in the US, there are different kind of regulatory implications. So if it's a new drug, it has to go through these rigorous processes, FDA's, double-blind trials, etc. Surgery, however, can be a little bit more wild and woolly. So he's worried that people are going to get these things done and you can't reverse it, and they may have fucked it up.
Yeah, but how many are we talking about?
20.
In the world?
Probably more than you would imagine, actually, because you and I, at least, speaking for myself, and I'm thinking probably you don't have the same.
I'm not urges. Imagining. I'm not imagining, but I sure you can say more than I imagine, but I'm guessing it's not actually heaps and heaps of people.
Well, he's not saying don't do it. His concern was if it was a new drug, etc., it would be far more rigorously tested, etc.
Sure.
People would be clear on it, as opposed to this. So the oversight for unorthodox surgery is not as stringent. So let's talk about that. So just going back to let's go back to our little mate Kevin. He met Smith in London in early 96. Yep. Smith talked to him a lot, came to the conclusion he wanted to help him, but he said not without great trepidation because he wanted to be aware of the legal, ethical, media interest, etc. So what followed was 18 months of consultation.
That's
and consideration.
A lot.
18 months.
That's a lot. And
it wasn't frivolous. It wasn't uninformed.
I mean, you might say, okay, 18 months of, it depends on what that consideration is. That might be, you can imagine its worst case is 18 months of someone wearing a surgeon down, or 18 months of
that's true.
18 months of a surgical team doing all of the due diligence to try and work out, the justice of this.
Surgical team, medical defense union, psychiatrist, ethical people, legal people, on and on and on and on. So he was, as far as I can tell, pretty damn thorough.
Yeah.
And it was sanctioned because the surgeon believed it was in the best interest of his patient and that everything had been checked and double-checked. So he couldn't get okays from private hospitals, so he went to the NHS Trust and they said, okay, do it. The chief executive said, okay, do it. Smith got a team. They said, okay, do it. On they went. So by the time that American turned up and said, I want to do it too, the third person, the one who hadn't had it done, there was a whole new board of managers. The new chief executive said, I'm not sure, I'm going to talk to the chairman. And the chairman didn't know about the previous two operations.
I thought as soon as he Chester.
The Chester, sorry, I forgot. God, I gave up. He put an immediate ban on the surgeries and said we've got to have an internal ethical inquiry.
Yeah. In fairness, I think this is an area in which precedent doesn't really carry weight. I think every case should be assessed completely on its own merits, and let's do the full due diligence each time, because you don't want to get to a place where you go, okay, our hospital is famous for this. We can get you in from first conversation to done in 15 minutes.
Imagine. All right, tick this box. Yep. Okay, your leg's coming off.
So we're going to just do a really quick survey. You just have to answer 18 questions and then you're done, and that's it.
Yeah. And 5 of them are demographic, so no big deal.
Yeah.
But they decided, look, until we fully consider that, they did what you were suggesting. Let's go case by case. Full board has to consider it. Off we go. But then he got pressured by a local MP who said this is not the way to do these things. The National Health Service should not have fund for it. Blah 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 blah. And so the Chester said this will never happen again in this hospital.
Oh,
yeah. So Smith got the shits with this, our surgeon buddy. And he said what bugged him most was the ill-informed comments of some of the MPs. They'd never heard of BDD until half an hour before. It took him 18 months to decide, but these people just made a decision and said, this is garbage. You can't do it. And what he was really worried about was different people with BDD. There are some, of course, who complain about their limbs for other reasons. But the problem is some of the people in the wrong categories, you remove a limb if you don't diagnose them properly, then they need another one removed and another one because they get off on the removal.
And when will it end?
Yeah, when will it end? When you're limbless, and then maybe we go to your nose.
That's not fair. That should end before then, because that's obviously not right.
No, that's maybe getting a bit carried away.
Is it really getting a bit carried away?
Or is it? Yeah, exactly. Maybe. But it's very clear that the fourth category...
Isn't it your body to spend as you wish?
That's my feeling, but, I don't have to make the decisions, and there's no consequences to me saying that. You do what you want with your body. I don't have to pay for that.
Yeah, okay.
But the chair of a medical trust certainly does, potentially. So Smith says, look, it's with close questioning, you can actually tell who's actually got Amputated.
So long as it's just one limb, you can tell. But if it's
exactly. It's only one, and you feel satisfied afterwards. But Elliot, the Atlantic guy, says nobody really understands it. Nobody knows whether there's an alternative to surgery, although Ramachandran's suggestion or your idea of replacing the wire.
Oh, it's not my idea. I just worry.
Oh, it's your idea.
Okay.
No, you patent pending.
Yeah.
Said it here first.
Rather pending, yeah.
But the Atlantic guy, Elliot, worries that people who are seeking amputations are desperate and vulnerable, and so they're open to exploitation for whatever their reason. And so he's worried. He said, like, one of the people he spoke to said, I'm in a constant state of inner rage. I'm willing to take the risk of death to achieve my amputation.
Damn.
My life is just too hard to continue. And this doesn't say whether this person is a category 4, 1, 2, or 3, whatever. So many people are convinced amputation is their only possible solution, but they haven't necessarily tried anything else. And most importantly, and this is where we kind of round it out, more than a few have never spoken face-to-face with another human being about it. They've had no one to talk to. They've got no way to work out how normal or not it is, whether they're alone. All they have is the internet, as the author puts it, their own troubled lives, and the place where those two things come together. So they can type into the dark web or whatever, get on Parler, whatever it is, but they haven't had the opportunity because this shit is in the dark, like it's not spoken about as normal.
Has that changed though? I mean,
well, this is what we'll get to. So Kevin has been remarkably aware of this, of course. He's acutely aware of the dearth of information. And he understood that people with BDD find it difficult to get any kind of sympathetic support. So his website, back to that problem, was aiming to address this. That was his goal. It didn't have pictures of amputees. It didn't kind of, talk up the porn and stuff. And there's a bunch of stuff I didn't go into about
just text. I can only code text. I get it.
I can only code, it's 2000, so what do you know? But it did have Lonely Hearts advertisements, which got people very upset, as we saw. But as Kevin put it, these people are not weird freaks. They're just unfortunate. Some are looking for friends, others for partners. So what? Sexuality is part of a personal identity, whether you're able-bodied or not. So the idea that the fact they might be providing a meetup for people, the idea that is intrinsically wrong is something he
and this idea that then that provides a taint to what he was doing.
Yeah, and it seems to be pretty clear that's what happened. So Kevin's idea is he was prepared to speak out about it. He's trying to, and back then he was trying to get the debate alive. I looked him up. I couldn't find him pretty much since about 2000. So he said at the time he wanted to open the debate, but then retract or recede into his normal life. So that's what he's hoping for. And the final quote from him was, look, I have not regretted the operation one bit. I don't want to think of what I would have been like without it. So he's still, at least as late as I could find him, completely convinced it was the right thing to do. He recognizes that people in his position have no way to talk about it in a vaguely normalized way. I started rummaging around, but you don't want to go too far down that path because it's a rabbit hole, but also the internet turns up some spectacular things when you type in some of these keywords.
Sure. I mean, just if you're scared of it, I mean, it might be nice.
Of course I'm scared of it. I'm all for you. So it's a phenomenal situation. The complexities of this really break my brain. It's easy when you hear a little bit here and a little bit there. Make a snap decision, your body, your choice. I have no argument with that. But
I see. Yeah, no, I'm a your body, your choice. But this is elective surgery, so you got to get a backyard surgeon to do it. That's not.
That's your choice.
That's not my opinion. I fund it all. Fund it from the government. I think this should be straight away. I would suck.
We go through the checks. I mean, like anything else, it's okay to change gender, and I have no beef with that. Why is it not okay to lose a limb if, after adequate and serious checking, it's clear that's what you need? I mean, it sounds like this guy, and as I say, there's nothing more that I could find on him recently. It sounds like he got exactly what he needed, and he was much more at peace once it happened.
Yeah.
So just because you don't get it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
So is it contagious?
Well, the one of the things in that long, deep article that I only just touched on from The Atlantic, that was one of his concerns. In general, when you start to qualify and clarify disorders, you give them names, you give them suggestions, you give them sub-details. Some people who may not have thought about them in any specific way read it and go, that's me.
Oh my God.
He was worried that it might be contagious.
If you get this from this listener, then that's okay, because we've decided it's all okay.
Talk to Robert Smith.
Just talk to someone else. Well, I'm not a surgeon, and
No, robert.smith@thecure.com.
Yeah, he would love to moonlight as a...
I think he does. Yeah, I don't know. It's a messy one, and there's so much more detail than I could possibly go into here because there's a lot to consider about this. There's a lot.
The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant.
And also me, not Will Grant.
We'll see you next week, listener.